Alright guys, so today we are going to propagate some hardwood cuttings of red and yellow twig dogwoods. Plants are fairly easy to root, especially as hardwood cuttings. So I'm going to get these guys whittled down. Right now I just took a bunch of cuttings of branches here. I'm going to whittle them down to the right size and we'll get them all prepared for you and show you what that looks like. So we've got our cuttings of our red twig and our yellow twig dogwood all ready to go, bundled up with a couple rubber bands. Now this part is like magic, and you guys are going to love what happens when we take these two bundles and put them on some bottom heat. So the first thing we do is dip our cuttings into some rooting hormone. And with these cuttings, you'll get a lot of them to root without hormone at all, but they'll just root even better if you just put a little bit of a powdered rooting hormone on there. Just shake off the excess. So the next thing we're going to do is pot these up. So they've had a chance to sit and just absorb some of that rooting hormone. Now I'm going to fill these pots with fine fir bark, which is an inert material that I use for propagating all my plants. So as we fill these, we're going to get these down in here so that these cuttings are probably buried maybe, I don't know, 6 inches or something like that. So because they're in a bundle, I'm going to have to kind of fill this and set these down in there and then fill some more. Now we've got both of our cuttings potted up. It's time to water them in. So now all we got to do is plug this little cord in, and these guys are ready to start warming up and forming all kinds of callus down in there. It's going to be beautiful. I'm excited to see it. So it's been 17 days since we stuck these cuttings on some bottom heat. Now because they're on bottom heat, I've had to water, I think 2 different times over that last 17 days just to make sure everything's moistened, because that heat starts going up through there and it can dry out your rooting medium much faster. Well, there's nothing real scientific about the 17 days. It could have been 2 weeks, could have been 21 days. It doesn't really matter, but you've given those little cuttings enough time to start warming up and really starting to form some callus in there. Now it's time to pull these guys out and see what we've got. All right, let's start with the yellow twig dogwoods. And I'm just going to gently, there's no roots in there yet, it's just too soon, but we should have some callus down in there. Well, these guys are down in there good. There we go. Yeah, well, and I was completely wrong. So here we go, guys. We've already got roots on these things. I am actually really amazed. Usually by this point, we've just got callus going on. But look at that, man. I'm kind of shocked, actually, that these guys have roots already. Look at those little roots. Isn't that beautiful? I love seeing those roots, man. But here's what I was talking about. This is the part we were really looking for. Let me pull one of these out. I'm going to widen this up a little bit. There we go. All right. If you guys can see this, hopefully this thing will get in there real good and be able to focus. But that white bubbly stuff on there, that is the callus I'm talking about. That's what these hardwood cuttings will do. They'll just bubble up and callus like that, and then roots will generally come out from those sites. So usually what I'll do is get all that callus formed on there, and then you can pull these out and individually pot them into individual 1-gallon pots and take them off the bottom heat, just set them out in the nursery with the rest of your plants, and they'll just slowly start waking up through the spring. You can see none of these guys have any leaf growth yet. They're still just, you know, pretty well dormant. I mean, some of the leaves are just starting to do something, but not really much of anything. They're just really starting to grow that callus on there and actually some roots there, and they're getting ready to start doing something. But now we'll just shove them into pots and we'll just let them grow on into spring and let them wake up with the outdoor temperature. Let's take a look at these red twig dogwoods. I'm shocked about those yellow twig. These guys are probably going to have roots too. We'll see. Yeah, they're down in there pretty good. Yeah, look at that, man. I am just 17 days for hardwood cuttings. That's almost unheard of. I mean, unless you're talking about figs, but look at that, lots of little roots. That is the magic of bottom heat, guys. That's what it can do for your cuttings. That's it. Isn't that just absolutely gorgeous? I just love that. Now these guys will individually go into their own little pots and turn into beautiful landscape plants. I do a little bit of fertilizing here, and people ask me all the time, what do you use for fertilizer? Well, you've seen my indoor houseplant fertilizer videos, and if you haven't, I'll have a link down below and up in the corner there, but if you have, that's not what I use for these outdoor landscape plants. This is a slow release pelletized fertilizer. It comes in a 50-pound bag. It's a commercial fertilizer, and it's what I use around all my landscape plants here at the nursery. That's it, guys. Now we'll come back when something's happened. Aren't those beautiful little cuttings all lined out in their little pots there? These guys are going to do great. Right now, like I said, or I don't know if I said it or not, but I'm going to say it now. It's April 14th, and we are pretty well past the danger of frost, but that's not too much of a worry in this hoop house structure because it kind of prevents real hard, fast frost from getting on these little cuttings. But they're hardwood, so it's not that big of a deal. Anyway, we'll be coming back when something happens. Here we go. So today is July 16th, and old Mikey got cocky again. So I want to continue with this video, although we didn't get quite the results we wanted. We did get the results we wanted, but I'm going to show you what's been going on here. It's been a few months since I posted that last little clip, or anyway, you just watched it. But let's go take a look at these things now and see what they're doing in the pots several months later. And there they are a couple months later. So we've got our little yellow twig and red twig dogwoods here. I was 100% certain they were all going to flesh out with tons of growth because, you know, sometimes even I think I can defy gravity and other odd, crazy science feats. But what I should have done with these, you can see a lot of them died back. They're not doing anything. They rooted. You saw they all rooted, but a lot of them died back. And I know exactly what went wrong. It was, part of it was the weather, and I'm not going to blame this on the weather. It was me too, but I was trying to make this video for you and get it going and show you, one step through the next real quick. But what I should have done was leave all these bundled up right where they were in their pots while they were rooting, and just maybe left them on bottom heat for a few more weeks, and then just eventually took them off bottom heat, took the whole pot off the bottom heat and set it into the hoop house or on the north side of a building or anywhere else so they could finish just rooting out in those little bundles in the pots. But instead, I ended up taking them all apart separately and then potting them up into 1-gallon pots. What that did was disturb all the roots really early on in the season. I think, like I said, this was a couple months ago, so the roots got really disturbed. We had really cool weather. The summer never really warmed up. It's been cool and rainy around here, and so the roots never got a chance to really start growing, and they ended up rotting, a lot of them. You can see I got a little bit of growth out of this one right here. And when I give it a tug, it's got a little resistance. This one, this red twig, is doing great. This is red twig, and red twig. They're all doing really well. The yellow twig didn't fare so well. And like I said, what I should have done is just left them in their bundles in the same pot, just set them aside. They would have probably just continued on rooting. And then you would wait until the next winter, once they go dormant, and separate them all when those roots are hard and, dormant and tough, and you can play with them a little bit more. But there are the results. That's what we got, guys. So it really does work. You can root these, you can propagate them very quickly in the late winter, but don't do what I did. Don't pot them all up right away immediately. Just leave them in their little bundles, and that's all you need to do. Wait till the next winter and you'll be fine. So although the end result wasn't a complete success, in the end it was a success because we were able to root them successfully. And that was what the whole point of this video was. Rooting hardwood cuttings of red and yellow twig dogwoods. So Don't do what I did, like I said. Instead, you will have much better success if you just leave them bundled in their pots, maybe let them root a little bit more, and then just take the whole pot off, set it aside, and let it slowly wake up through the spring instead of pulling them all apart, disturbing all the roots. I do that a lot for you guys just to wash them off and show you the roots and all that fun stuff because we want to see them rooting, but in this case, I got bit. Anyway, I wanted to show you this so that you don't make that mistake and you can see that it does work, but leave them where they're at until the following winter when the roots are hardy. So I hope you guys like this one. Just gives you another little tool in the tool belt, another little weapon in the arsenal. Hope you have a fantastic week, guys. Like it. If you like it, subscribe if you want to follow along, and I'll see you in the next video. Adios.